"There's room in my heart for you this Christmas," he said to the Apache mother fleeing with her. The winter wind was cold and sharp, like tiny needles touching the skin. The sky was a dull gray, and the sun hid behind thick clouds. The land looked empty, with only snow and dry grass. It was the kind of winter that made every step feel heavy. The snow had already started to pile up, and the roads were almost hidden under the white layer. The air smelled clean, but it also felt lonely. A woman walked alone through that cold land. She was wearing old clothes that had been patched many times. Her coat was thin, but she wrapped it tightly around her body anyway. She was carrying a small bundle in her arms. The bundle was wrapped in cloth, and inside it was her child. The child's face was red from the cold, and the little hands were tucked inside the blanket. The woman's eyes were tired, but they were also full of determination. She did not know where she was going. She only knew that she had to keep moving. She had been traveling for days, and every day felt like a new challenge. Her body was weak, and her feet were sore. Yet she did not stop. She could not stop. Stopping would mean danger. Stopping would mean being found. She had left her home behind, leaving everything she knew. She had no choice. She had to protect her child. She had to find a place where they could be safe. The thought of staying where she was made her heart race with fear. The thought of being seen again made her want to disappear. The child in her arms slept quietly. The child did not know what was happening. The child did not know that their life had changed. The child only knew that the mother was holding them, and that was enough. The mother looked down at the sleeping face. She felt a pain in her chest, but she also felt love that was stronger than anything else. She whispered softly, "Just a little more. We will be safe soon." The snow made the road slippery. The woman walked carefully, one step at a time. She tried not to make too much noise. The land was quiet, but she knew that quiet could also mean danger. The quiet meant that no one was around to help. The quiet meant that she had to rely only on herself. She remembered the night she left. The night had been dark and cold, but she had been too scared to feel it. She had packed only a few things. She had taken the child, some food, and a small blanket. She had not taken much because she knew she could not carry much. She had taken what mattered most. She also remembered the look on the child's face when she picked them up and ran. The child had been frightened, but the child had trusted her. The child had not cried. The child had only clung to her, like a small bird seeking warmth. The mother had promised herself that she would not fail the child. She would not let anything harm the child. She walked past an old fence that was half broken. The wood was gray and cracked. The fence looked like it had been there for many years. The woman paused for a moment and rested her back against one of the fence posts. Her legs were shaking. Her breath came out in small clouds. She closed her eyes for a few seconds just to feel calm. She felt the weight of the child in her arms. She felt the cold air against her face. She felt the tiredness in her body. She opened her eyes and looked at the road ahead. The road was long and empty. It seemed to stretch forever. She wondered how much farther she could go. She wondered if she would ever find a place to rest. She wondered if anyone would help them. She wondered if the world still had kind people. A small sound made her stop. It was a soft noise, like a bird in the distance. She listened carefully. Her heart began to beat faster. She looked around, but she saw nothing. The sound was gone. She shook her head and continued walking. She did not want to think about danger. She wanted to think about safety. As she walked, she noticed the sky was changing. The clouds were becoming thicker, and the wind was getting stronger. The snow started to fall again, softly at first, and then heavier. The woman pulled her coat tighter. She held the child closer to her chest. The child stirred, but did not wake. The mother whispered, "Sleep, my child, sleep. We will find a warm place soon." She walked on, following a small path that she hoped would lead to a village. She had heard about a place not far from here, where people sometimes offered help to travelers. She did not know if the stories were true. She did not know if the people there would accept her, but she had to try. She had to try because she had no other option. The road began to slope upward. The woman's steps became slower. The snow was deeper here. The wind pushed against her, making it difficult to move forward. She felt her fingers becoming numb. She tried to warm them by rubbing them together. Her cheeks were burning from the cold. Her breath was loud in her ears. She looked up at the sky and saw that the day was ending. The sun was disappearing behind the clouds. The world was becoming darker. The woman's heart sank. She needed shelter soon. She needed a place where she could rest and where the child could be warm. She tried to think of a plan. She thought of finding a small cave or a tree that could protect them from the wind. She thought of building a small fire, but she had no dry wood. The snow had covered everything. She thought of knocking on a door, but she was afraid. She was afraid of being rejected. She was afraid of being seen and taken away. She stopped walking for a moment and looked at the child's face. The child's eyes were still closed. The child's breathing was slow and steady. The mother felt a wave of emotion. She wanted to cry, but she held back. She did not want to show weakness. She did not want the child to feel scared. She took a deep breath and continued walking. The wind became stronger. The snow was falling faster. The woman's hair was covered in white. Her coat was wet and heavy. Her boots were filled with snow. She felt her body getting colder. She felt her energy leaving her. Suddenly, she saw something ahead. It was a small light. At first, she thought it was a star in the sky, but it was too close. She walked faster, her heart beating faster. The light grew brighter. It looked like a lantern. She approached slowly. The light was coming from a small house. The house looked old, but it seemed warm. Smoke was coming out of the chimney. The woman felt hope rise inside her. She looked at the house with careful eyes. She wondered if it was safe. She wondered if someone would open the door. She walked closer, and she could see that the house had a small porch. There was a wooden door, and the window was glowing with light. The woman stood a few steps away from the porch. She held the child tighter. She did not want to knock. She did not want to make a mistake. She thought about turning back. She thought about finding another place, but she knew she could not. The night was coming. The snow was getting worse. She needed shelter. She needed help. She took a deep breath. She stepped forward and knocked on the door. The sound echoed in the quiet night. The woman waited, her heart pounding. She listened for footsteps. She listened for a voice. She waited for a long moment. Finally, she heard the door open. A man stood in the doorway. He was tall and strong. His face looked tired, but his eyes were kind. He looked at the woman and the child. He looked at the snow on her coat and the cold in her eyes. He did not say anything at first. He only stared. The woman felt her body shake. She wanted to speak, but her voice was weak. She tried to say something, but the words did not come out. She swallowed and tried again. "Please," she whispered. "We need shelter. Please." The man looked at her for a moment. He then looked past her, into the snow. He seemed to think. The woman's heart felt like it would break. She was afraid he would turn them away. But then the man stepped aside. "Come in," he said. The woman's eyes filled with tears. She could not believe it. She looked at the child and felt a wave of relief. She took a step forward, and then another. She crossed the porch and entered the house. The warmth hit her like a wave. The air inside was hot and clean. The woman felt the cold leaving her body. She closed her eyes for a moment and let herself feel safe. The child began to wake up, and the mother held the child close. The man closed the door behind them. He looked at them again, and his eyes softened. "Come," he said gently. "You can stay here tonight?" The woman nodded, unable to speak. She looked around the room. It was simple but cozy. There was a small fireplace with a gentle fire. The walls were plain, but there was a sense of peace. The woman could not believe that she had found this place. As she sat by the fire, she held her child close. She looked at the man and she felt a strange emotion. It was not fear. It was not sadness. It was hope. For the first time in many days, she felt like she could breathe. The woman sat by the fire, still holding her child close. The warmth was like a soft blanket. She could feel the cold leaving her body slowly. The child looked around with sleepy eyes. The child was still unsure of the world, but the warmth made them feel safe. The woman held the child tightly and listened to the crackling sound of the fire. For a moment, the world felt calm. The man who had opened the door stood quietly near the fireplace. He was watching them, but he did not look like a judge. He looked like someone who had seen pain and wanted to help. He wore a simple shirt and pants, and his hands were strong. His face was rough, but his eyes were gentle. He had a calm voice, like someone who spoke only when needed. He moved slowly around the room. He placed a small wooden chair near the fire. Then he went to a cupboard and took out a bowl and a spoon. He set them on a table. The woman watched him carefully. She did not know if she should trust him, but she also did not want to seem ungrateful. She tried to stay quiet and calm. The man returned to the table with a small pot. He poured something into the bowl. The smell was warm and pleasant. It smelled like soup. The woman's stomach growled softly. She had not eaten in a long time. The man noticed and nodded slightly. He placed the bowl in front of her. "Eat," he said. "You look tired." The woman nodded and took the bowl. She held it with both hands, like it was something precious. The soup was warm and tasted simple, but it felt like the best food she had ever tasted. She ate slowly, careful not to waste any. The child reached out and touched the bowl, and the woman gently moved the child's hand away. The man watched them quietly. After a few moments, he spoke again. "What is your name?" he asked. The woman paused. She looked at him. She felt a strange fear in her heart. She was not sure if she should share her name. She had been hiding for so long. She had learned that names could be dangerous. But she also felt that this man was not like the others. She felt that he might not harm them. "My name is Lila," she said softly. She did not know if he would remember it. She did not know if it mattered. The man nodded. "I am Daniel," he said. Lila repeated the name in her head. Daniel. It sounded kind. It sounded safe. She felt a small smile try to appear, but she held it back. She did not want to show too much emotion. Daniel sat on a chair across from her. He watched her as she ate. He did not ask too many questions. He did not push. He only waited. Lila felt grateful for his calmness, and she felt that he understood that she needed time. After she finished the soup, Daniel stood up. He walked to a small shelf and took out a blanket. He handed it to Lila. "This is for your child," he said. Lila took the blanket and looked at it. It was soft and clean. It smelled like fresh cloth. She could not believe someone would give them something so simple and kind. She felt tears in her eyes again. She tried to hide them, but Daniel saw. "It is okay," he said gently. "You do not need to be afraid here." Lila nodded slowly. She wrapped the blanket around her child. The child's eyes began to close again. The child was safe and warm. Lila felt her shoulders relax for the first time in days. She looked around the room again. There were a few simple items: a table, chairs, a bed in the corner, and a small shelf with some books. The room was clean and tidy. It looked like someone cared about it. Lila wondered how Daniel lived alone in this place. She wondered why he was kind. She finally asked the question that had been in her mind since she arrived. "Why did you help us?" she asked. Daniel looked at her. He paused for a moment, as if thinking carefully. Then he spoke. "Because it is Christmas soon," he said, "and because I remember what it feels like to be alone." Lila felt a small shock. She did not expect him to say Christmas. She had heard the word before, but she did not know much about it. She had heard stories of people celebrating with lights and food. She had heard stories of families together, but she had never felt that kind of warmth. She had never felt like she belonged. Daniel continued, "I lost my family a long time ago. I know what it is like to feel cold inside. I know what it is like to think no one will help you. So when I saw you in the snow, I could not turn away." Lila listened carefully. She did not know what to say. She felt a mix of emotions. She felt grateful, but she also felt guilty. She felt like she was taking something from him. She felt like she was intruding in his life. But Daniel did not look bothered. He looked calm. He looked like he wanted to help, and he was happy to do it. Lila took a deep breath and spoke softly. "I am sorry," she said. "I do not want to cause trouble." Daniel shook his head. "You are not trouble," he said. "You are a person. You are a mother. You are a child. You deserve help." Lila felt her eyes fill with tears again. She blinked hard to keep them from falling. She did not want to seem weak. She did not want to show him her pain. Daniel stood up again and walked to the window. He looked outside at the snow. The wind was still strong. The snow was falling heavily. The world outside looked harsh and unkind. Daniel turned back to Lila. "You can stay here for a few days," he said. "You can rest. You can warm up. You can decide what you want to do next." Lila felt relief wash over her. She nodded slowly. She did not know what she would do next, but she knew she could breathe for now. The child was now sleeping deeply. Lila held the child close and watched the fire. She felt the warmth in her body. She felt safe for the first time in a long time. She looked at Daniel and felt a small sense of hope. Daniel moved to the corner of the room where the bed was. He pulled back the blanket and made the bed neatly. Then he went to a small cabinet and took out a few items. He returned with a cup of warm milk and a small bowl of bread. He placed them on the table. "Eat something," he said. "You need strength." Lila took the bread and milk. She ate slowly. The bread was soft and tasted good. The milk was warm and sweet. She had not tasted something so simple in a long time. She felt her body start to relax. Daniel sat down again. He looked at Lila with a kind expression. "Tell me about your child," he said. Lila hesitated. She was not sure if she should share. But she felt that Daniel was not trying to hurt them. She felt that he wanted to know because he cared. "My child is 3 years old," she said softly. "The child loves to laugh. The child loves to play. The child likes to listen to stories." Daniel smiled gently. "That is a good age," he said. "I remember when I was young. I used to laugh a lot too." Lila smiled slightly. It was a small smile, but it felt like a door opening. She felt like she could talk to him. She felt like she could trust him. They spoke quietly for a while. Lila shared small details about her life. She did not share everything, but she shared enough. Daniel listened without judgment. He did not ask too many questions. He only listened. The fire continued to burn. The room stayed warm. The snow kept falling outside. The world felt quiet, like it was waiting for something. Lila looked at the man again. She felt a strange feeling in her heart. She felt that this man was not just a stranger. She felt that he was someone who could become a friend. She felt that maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for a new beginning. She thought about the future. She thought about what would happen after a few days. She wondered if she could trust him enough to stay longer. She wondered if she could find a way to build a life here. The child stirred in her arms. The child opened the eyes slowly. The child looked at the fire. The child looked at Daniel. The child smiled faintly. Daniel smiled back. He looked happy to see the child smile. Lila felt her heart warm. She realized that the child was already feeling safe. The child was already starting to feel like this place could be home. Lila closed her eyes for a moment and whispered, "Thank you." Daniel nodded. "You are welcome," he said softly. Outside, the snow continued to fall. Inside, the room was warm and calm. The world felt quiet, but it felt good. For the first time in many days, Lila felt that she was not alone. She felt that she had found someone who cared. And she felt that Christmas, which was coming soon, might be different this year. It might not be about gifts or lights. It might be about kindness. It might be about a safe place. It might be about hope. The next morning, the snow had stopped falling. The world outside looked quiet and clean, like it had been covered in a soft white blanket. The sun was trying to shine through the clouds, but the light was weak. Still, the air felt calm. The cold was still there, but it did not feel as harsh as before. The world seemed peaceful. Inside the small house, the fire was still warm. The woman woke up slowly, feeling the warmth around her. She looked down and saw her child sleeping peacefully. The child's face looked calm, and the mother felt a strange feeling in her heart. She felt like she had been given a gift. She felt like she had been given a chance. The woman sat up carefully, trying not to wake the child. She looked around the room. Daniel was already awake. He was sitting at the table, drinking a cup of coffee. His face looked calm and focused. He looked like someone who had a routine. He looked like someone who had been living alone for a long time. Daniel noticed that the woman was awake. He looked at her and nodded. "Good morning," he said. The woman nodded back. "Good morning," she replied softly. Daniel stood up and walked to the cupboard. He took out some bread and cheese. He placed them on the table. He also took out a small bowl of fruit. The food was simple, but it looked fresh. The woman felt grateful. She had not eaten like this in a long time. "Eat," Daniel said. "You need strength for the day." The woman sat at the table. She took a piece of bread and cheese. She ate slowly. The taste was simple, but it felt comforting. She looked at Daniel and felt a small smile appear on her face. She felt like she was finally safe. After breakfast, Daniel stood up and walked to the door. He opened it and looked outside. He then turned to the woman. "It is safe to go outside today," he said. "But be careful. The roads are still slippery." The woman nodded. She knew that she needed to step outside. She needed to think about what to do next. She needed to find a way to survive. She needed to find a place where she could live. Daniel walked back to the table and sat down. He looked at the woman with a serious expression. "I want to help you," he said, "but I need to know more. I need to know where you are from." The woman felt her heart beat faster. She did not want to share too much. She did not want to tell him everything. She had learned that secrets were important for survival. She had learned that people could use information against you, but she also knew that she could not stay here forever without explaining something. She needed to be honest if she wanted to stay safe. She took a deep breath and spoke. "I am from a small community," she said. "I am not from here. I do not know much about this place. I am only trying to find a safe home for my child." Daniel listened carefully. He did not interrupt. He only nodded. His eyes showed understanding. "I see," he said. "You are brave." The woman felt a small shock. She did not think of herself as brave. She thought of herself as a person who was trying to survive. But Daniel's words made her feel different. They made her feel like her efforts mattered. The child woke up and rubbed their eyes. The child looked around and saw the fire. The child looked at Daniel and smiled. The woman felt a warm feeling in her heart. The child's smile was like a light in the dark. Daniel stood up and walked to the child. He held out his hand. The child reached out and grabbed it. Daniel gently lifted the child up. He placed the child on his knee. The child giggled softly. The woman watched them and felt her heart soften. Daniel looked at the woman and said, "You have a good child." The woman nodded. "Yes," she said softly. "The child is my whole life." Daniel smiled. "I understand," he said. After a while, Daniel spoke again. "I have some work to do outside," he said. "Would you like to come with me? You can see the area. You can learn the road. It might help you." The woman hesitated. She was not sure if she should go outside. She was not sure if she should trust him completely. But she also felt that she needed to learn. She needed to understand the world around her. "Okay," she said finally, "I will come." Daniel smiled gently. He stood up and walked to the door. He opened it. The cold air came inside. The woman felt the chill. She wrapped her coat tighter. She picked up the child and held them close. They stepped outside. The snow was still on the ground, but the sky looked clearer. The sun was shining softly. The wind was calm. The world looked peaceful. The woman felt a small sense of hope. Daniel walked slowly along a small path. The woman followed. The child was in her arms, looking around with curious eyes. The woman noticed that Daniel seemed to know the area well. He walked with confidence. He seemed comfortable in the cold. As they walked, Daniel pointed to different places. He showed her the direction to the nearest village. He showed her the path to a small stream. He showed her a place where they could find wood for fire. He explained things calmly and clearly. The woman listened carefully. She wanted to remember everything. They walked for a while. The woman noticed that Daniel did not talk much about himself. He talked about the area, the weather, and the road. He seemed to want to keep his own story private. The woman respected that. She also felt that he was giving her the space to open up when she was ready. After a while, they reached a small field. The snow was thick here. The field looked empty, but it was peaceful. Daniel stopped walking and turned to the woman. "I want to show you something," he said. The woman looked at him with curiosity. "What is it?" she asked. Daniel smiled gently. He pointed to a small tree near the edge of the field. The tree was not tall. It was simple, with thin branches, but it had something special. A small, star-shaped ornament hung from one of the branches. The ornament looked old, but it shined in the sunlight. The woman looked at the ornament and felt a strange emotion. She did not know why, but the ornament made her feel something inside. She felt like it was a sign. She felt like it was a message. Daniel noticed her reaction. He said softly, "This is my Christmas tree." The woman looked at him in surprise. "Your Christmas tree?" she repeated. Daniel nodded. "Yes." "It is small, but it reminds me of good things. It reminds me that there is still hope." The woman looked at the tree again. She felt her eyes fill with tears. She did not know why she was crying. She felt a mix of emotions. She felt sad, but she also felt hopeful. She felt that she was not alone. Daniel saw her tears and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. He did not say anything. He only stood beside her, offering quiet support. The woman felt the warmth of his hand. She felt the kindness in his gesture. She looked at Daniel and whispered, "Thank you." Daniel nodded. "You are welcome," he said. They stood there for a moment, looking at the small tree. The world around them was quiet. The snow was shining. The air felt calm. The woman felt a sense of peace she had not felt in a long time. After a while, Daniel said, "We should go back inside. It is still cold." The woman nodded. She held the child closer and walked back with Daniel. They returned to the small house, and the warmth welcomed them again. The child fell asleep in the woman's arms. The woman sat by the fire and stared into the flames. She thought about what she had seen. She thought about the small tree. She thought about the kindness of the man. She thought about the fact that someone could still be good in the world. She thought about the possibility of a new life. She also thought about the future. She wondered if she could stay here. She wondered if she could trust Daniel. She wondered if she could build a home here for her child. She wondered if the world would ever be safe again. But she also knew one thing. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope. And hope, she realized, was the most powerful thing in the world. The days passed slowly, but they felt different now. The woman, Lila, no longer woke up with fear. The house was warm and the fire kept burning. The world outside was still cold, but inside, there was a sense of calm. Lila began to feel something she had not felt in a long time: peace. Every morning, Daniel would prepare simple food for them. Sometimes it was bread and cheese. Sometimes it was soup. Sometimes it was a small bowl of fruit. It was not much, but it was enough. Lila watched him as he worked. She noticed that he had a routine. He cared for the house. He chopped wood. He cleaned. He did small things that made the place feel like a home. Lila began to help him too. She would sweep the floor, wash the dishes, and fold the blankets. She wanted to feel useful. She wanted to feel like she was not just a guest. She wanted to feel like she belonged. The child would play by the fire. The child would make small toys from pieces of wood. Daniel would smile when he saw the child laugh. Lila felt her heart warm. She felt that her child was finally safe. One day, while Lila was cleaning, Daniel asked her a question. "Do you want to stay here longer?" he asked. Lila paused. She looked at him carefully. She knew that he was asking her something important. She also knew that she had to be honest. "I want to stay," she said softly, "but I do not know if it is possible. I do not know if I deserve it." Daniel looked at her and shook his head. "You deserve it," he said. "Everyone deserves a safe place." Lila felt tears in her eyes. She tried to hold them back, but she could not. She nodded slowly. "Thank you," she whispered. Daniel nodded. He did not say more. He seemed to understand that Lila needed time. That afternoon, Daniel went outside to gather wood. Lila stayed inside with the child. She sat by the fire and thought about her life. She thought about the past. She thought about the time when she had to run. She thought about the fear she had felt every day. She also thought about the future. She thought about what it would mean to stay here. She thought about the kind man who had helped them. She thought about the fact that she could build a new life. Lila's thoughts were interrupted by a small sound. She looked up and saw Daniel coming inside. He was carrying a small basket. The basket had a few apples and some bread. He set it down on the table. "I found some food in the village," he said. "There is a market there. They have supplies. I can get more if you need." Lila looked at the basket. She felt grateful. She did not know how to say thank you enough. She wanted to do something for him in return. She stood up and walked to the table. She picked up an apple. She held it in her hand and looked at Daniel. "Thank you," she said again. "But I want to do something for you too. I want to help." Daniel smiled gently. "You already help," he said. "Just being here helps." Lila nodded. She still wanted to do more. She wanted to show her gratitude. She wanted to show that she was not a burden. That evening, Daniel sat by the fire and began to talk. He spoke slowly, as if choosing his words carefully. "I want to tell you a story," he said. Lila looked at him with curiosity. She had not heard many stories lately. She missed them. She missed the sound of someone's voice telling a tale. Daniel began. "When I was young," he said, "I had a family. We lived in a small town. We had a house with a garden. We would celebrate Christmas together. My mother would cook, and my father would tell stories. We would decorate a tree. We would sing songs." Ah. Lila listened carefully. She could imagine the scene in her mind. She could see the happy family. She could feel the warmth of the house. She could feel the love. Daniel continued. "But one year," he said, "something changed. My parents became sick. They could not work. We did not have enough food. We had to move. We had to leave our home. It was a hard time." Lila's eyes softened. She could feel his pain. She could feel his sadness. Daniel looked at Lila and said, "I remember the last Christmas we had together. We did not have much, but we had each other. We were together, and that made it special." Lila felt her heart ache. She understood his pain. She understood the feeling of losing everything. She understood what it meant to feel alone. Daniel paused and took a deep breath. "After that," he said, "I traveled. I moved from place to place. I tried to find a new home, but I never felt like I belonged. I always felt like something was missing." Lila looked at him. She felt a connection. She felt that they both had been through similar pain. She felt that they both understood loss. Daniel continued, "When I saw you in the snow, I saw a mother who was trying to protect her child. I saw someone who was brave. I saw someone who needed help. I thought of my own family. I thought of what I would want someone to do for me." Lila felt her eyes fill with tears again. She looked down, trying to hide her emotions. Daniel reached out and gently touched her hand. "You do not need to hide your feelings," he said. "It is okay to be sad. It is okay to cry. It means you are human." Lila nodded slowly. She felt comforted by his words. She felt that she could trust him more now. She felt that he truly cared. The child who had been playing nearby looked up and asked, "Daniel, can we decorate the tree?" Lila looked at the child and smiled. She felt her heart warm. She had forgotten that the child was still young and innocent. She had forgotten that the child needed joy too. Daniel smiled and stood up. "Of course," he said. "We can decorate the tree." Lila watched as Daniel brought out a small box. Inside were a few ornaments and a string of lights. The ornaments were old and simple, but they were beautiful. The lights were small, but they shined. The child's eyes lit up. The child clapped hands and laughed. Lila felt her heart lift. She had not heard the child laugh like that in a long time. They placed the ornaments on the small tree. They hung the lights carefully. Daniel showed the child how to place them. The child listened carefully and followed. Lila watched them and felt a deep feeling inside. She felt like she was part of something. She felt like she belonged. She felt like her child was safe. She felt like she could finally breathe. After decorating the tree, Daniel sat down again. He looked at Lila and said, "I know you have been through a lot. I know you have been hurt, but I want you to know something." Lila looked at him. She waited for him to speak. Daniel continued, "You are not alone anymore. You have a place here. You have a home. You have someone who cares about you." Lila felt her eyes fill with tears. She nodded slowly. She did not know how to respond. She felt her heart full. She looked at the child, who was now sleeping beside the tree. Ah! She looked at the warm fire. She looked at Daniel. Ah! She felt a deep sense of gratitude. She realized that the Christmas she had feared would be lonely and sad might actually become something beautiful. She realized that she might be able to build a new life. She realized that she might be able to find happiness again. For the first time in a long time, she felt like the future was not a dark road. She felt like the future had light. Christmas was only a few days away now. The days felt warmer inside the small house, not because the winter had changed, but because something in Lila's heart had changed. The fire burned brightly, and the room felt like a safe place. The small tree with its simple ornaments stood by the window. The lights shone softly, making the room feel magical. Lila woke up early that morning. She looked at the child sleeping peacefully beside the tree. The child's face looked calm and happy. Lila felt a strong emotion in her heart. She realized that she had not felt this calm in a long time. She had been running for so long that she had forgotten what peace felt like. She had forgotten what it felt like to trust someone. Lila got up quietly. She did not want to wake the child. She walked to the window and looked outside. The world was covered in snow. The sky was clear, the sun was shining, making the snow look bright and clean. The air looked fresh. The world seemed quiet, like it was waiting for something special. Lila turned back and looked at the room. She saw Daniel sitting by the fire, holding a cup of coffee. He looked calm and peaceful. His face looked softer than before. Lila could see that he was thinking about something. She wondered what he was thinking. Daniel looked up and saw her. He smiled gently. "Good morning," he said. Lila smiled back. "Good morning," she replied. Daniel stood up and walked to the table. He placed a small wrapped box on the table. It was simple, but it looked carefully wrapped. He looked at Lila and said, "I have something for you." Lila felt her heart beat faster. She was surprised. She did not expect a gift. She had never received a gift like this before. She felt a little nervous. She did not know if she deserved it. Daniel watched her carefully. He said, "It is not much, but it is from the heart." Lila nodded slowly. She looked at the box. She felt a small smile appear on her face. She walked to the table and picked up the box. She held it in her hands. She felt the weight of it. She felt the care in the wrapping. She looked at Daniel and said softly, "Thank you." Daniel nodded. "Open it," he said. Lila slowly opened the box. Inside was a small necklace with a simple pendant. The pendant was shaped like a small heart. It was not expensive. It was not shiny, but it looked beautiful. Lila held it in her hands. She felt a strange emotion. She felt like she was holding something important. Daniel watched her with a gentle expression. He said, "I wanted you to have something that reminds you that you are not alone. You have a place in my heart. You have a place here." Lila's eyes filled with tears. She held the necklace close to her chest. She felt the warmth of it. She felt the meaning behind it. She felt that she was finally being seen. She looked at Daniel and whispered, "I don't know what to say." Daniel smiled. "You do not need to say anything," he said. "Just know that you are welcome here." Lila nodded. She could not stop the tears now. She looked at the child sleeping and felt her heart swell. She felt like she had been given a gift bigger than any object. She had been given a home. She had been given a future. That day, they prepared for Christmas in small ways. They cleaned the house. They made a simple meal. Lila baked a small bread with the help of Daniel. The smell of bread filled the room. The child watched them with curiosity and joy. The child was excited. Even though the child did not fully understand what Christmas meant, Daniel explained the meaning of Christmas in simple words. He said it was a time for kindness, for family, and for hope. He said it was a time to remember that even when life is hard, there is still love in the world. Lila listened carefully. She thought about what he said. She realized that Christmas was not just about gifts. It was about people caring for each other. It was about sharing love. She realized that she had found that love here. As the evening approached, the sky turned orange and pink. The sun began to set. The snow outside looked like a bright blanket. The world looked peaceful. The house felt warm. The fire burned softly. They sat together at the table. The child was in the middle, with Lila on one side and Daniel on the other. They ate the simple meal. They talked quietly. They laughed softly. It was a small moment, but it felt big. Lila looked at Daniel and said, Thank you for everything." Daniel nodded. "You are welcome," he said. "You have given me something too." Lila looked at him with surprise. "What did I give you?" she asked. Daniel smiled. "You gave me hope," he said. "You reminded me that life can be kind. You reminded me that I can love again." Lila felt her heart warm. She did not expect to hear that. She did not expect that she could make a difference in someone else's life. She felt grateful. She felt that her life had meaning. After dinner, they sat by the fire. The child was sleepy. The child leaned on Lila's shoulder. Lila looked at the small tree. The lights were shining softly. The ornaments were simple, but they looked beautiful. The room felt like a dream. Daniel looked at Lila and said, "I have one more question." Lila looked at him. "What is it?" she asked. Daniel took a deep breath. He said, "Would you like to stay here with us? Not just for a few days, but for longer? Would you like to make this your home?" Lila's heart raced. She felt a mixture of joy and fear. She had never imagined that she could have a home. She had never imagined that someone would ask her to stay. She had never imagined that she could be safe. She looked at the child. She looked at the fire. She looked at Daniel. She felt a deep sense of peace. Lila smiled softly. She said, "Yes, I would like that." Daniel smiled. He looked relieved. He looked happy. He stood up and walked to her. He gently held her hand. He looked into her eyes and said, "Then you are welcome. You are part of this family now." Lila felt tears fall down her cheeks. She nodded. She felt her heart full. She felt like she had finally found what she had been searching for. She felt like she had finally found a place where she belonged. The child woke up slightly and looked at them. The child smiled. Lila smiled back. Daniel smiled too. They all sat together, holding hands, and looked at the fire. Outside, the world was quiet. The snow was still falling softly. Inside, the house was warm and full of love. The small tree shined brightly. The room felt like a safe place. It felt like home. That night, Lila fell asleep with the child beside her. She held the necklace close to her heart. She felt the warmth of the fire. She felt the kindness of Daniel. She felt the hope of Christmas. She realized that sometimes life brings people together in the most unexpected ways. She realized that love can grow in the coldest places. She realized that there is always room in the heart for someone who needs it. And as the Christmas night continued, the small house stayed warm. The fire kept burning. The snow kept falling. But inside there was a light that could not be blown out, a light of hope, kindness, and love.